moving into the newest versions of Cognos. Just a couple little housekeeping duties here. There is a chat screen and a question box that if you guys have questions or chats, if you would like to ask a question or have a comment, just feel free to enter that in there, and then we will I will get back to the questions in the chats at the end of the presentation. Alrighty. So to get started, again, my name is Leo Coughlin. I think most of us over the years have worked together in some capacity with regard to your Cognos environment. So the main purposes of today's demo, some of you may or may not be aware of IBM's announcement that at the kind of the second quarter of next year, they were going to end support for Cognos 10. So it's something we kind of have to start thinking about, start talking about, to start planning that to move off your existing Cognos environment into the new Cognos environment. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, what's involved with that, what this end of service announcement means to you guys, what are some of your options, and then we'll get into a little bit about Cognos Analytics, what are some of the new features that have come out with R7. I'm going to go through a little bit of a demo on the tool to some people who have not seen it yet. So we'll go a little bit into that a little bit just to show you some of the new functionalities, the new interface that your end users are going to be utilizing. Okay. And again, as I mentioned before, there was a little question box on your GoToWebinar screen. There's also a chat box, so if you guys have any questions, just type them in there, and I will get back to you toward the end of the presentation, to answer those questions. If I don't get to your question, I will get back to you as soon as possible. Or if you have a question that I don't know the answer to, I will find the person who can get us that answer, and I will get back to you guys as soon as possible. All right. So this version of Cognos Analytics, it's been around for a bit. Came out in December of 2015. Upgrade available is from Series 7.5 and on. Hopefully I've done a good enough job of moving people off of that, all the way up to Cognos 10.2.2. If you guys, as long as you have an active customer support agreement, then you are able to download the software when you guys are ready. If you are so inclined, if you wanted to put it up in like a sandbox environment, just to play around with it a little bit, to get a feel for that, you are more than welcome to do that. I'll also give you a link toward the end of the presentation where on the IBM website, the Bluemix site, you can actually set up an instance of Cognos Analytics. If you just want to play with it for yourself, just get a feel for the new interface, what's going on with it, and so on. So again, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the new look and feel of the Cognos Analytics environment, and we'll talk a little bit about where you're going to find some of the things you're used to in Cognos 10. Where are those being located today? That's going to take a little bit of a learning curve to figure out where certain things have been moved to, kind of hidden behind the scenes. One thing, if you haven't seen this before, you will notice what most people make a comment about when we do show them this new environment is there is no longer a icon overload. People aren't inundated with icons, and so if you don't need to use a certain icon, you're not going to see it. So it's probably the easiest thing for you guys to do is, when you're using it, until you need to see something, then you're not necessarily going to need to use it. Okay. There are some new modules that we'll talk about. There's a new reporting module. There is a web-based modeling that we'll talk briefly on. There is a new dashboard environment, and there's a new upload capability. So again, we'll talk about all of those features as we're going through the presentation. Okay. All right. So again, our agenda here, as far as what the continuous support is about, moving to Cognos Analytics. Again, the Cognos Analytics overview. Just talking about some of the new features and some of the new things that you'll be seeing coming down the road. Okay. So again, you probably got the announcement, either an email from IBM last month, that the rumors have been confirmed that in April of 2018, they have set the date to end support for Cognos 10.2. So at that point, if you haven't made any arrangements, then you will not have access to any type of support from IBM, going forward. So there are some options. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Obviously what they would like us to do, like you guys to do, is start planning to move to the new version of Cognos, so they can, retire Cognos 10 as quickly as possible. And I think once you start showing your end users, Cognos Analytics, they are going to be pleasantly surprised about the interface, about some of the capabilities of, what can be done there. My thought with all this is that, IBM really wants people to log into Cognos, not just have Cognos be a report generating engine that is going to email people PDF and Excel spreadsheets all day long. We want people to log into the tool so we can start taking advantage of some of the capabilities that the tool has, whether it's, simple things as, pulling them into a prompt page, developing active reports, just, again, we'll get into the whole dashboard, the new dashboard capabilities, the new storytelling capabilities, which is kind of cool. So again, getting people to log in, not overwhelming them with the icons, is what's always been the issue with Cognos 10 is, some people get a little bit nervous that they don't know what all these icons mean. So again, a lot of that has been taken away, and should, your end users should, be, quite happy to start playing around with this tool. Okay. So IBM will offer what they're calling a continuing support. So, if it's not in your plans, moving forward past the end of April of next year, you do have the option of continuing support with IBM. So what you get with this this benefit of the additional continuing support, again, will be 24/7 support for level 1 emergencies. You'll be able to contact majority of the countries. A lot of the obviously most of the technical documentation is all in English. You'll have access to remote problem analysis and assistance during normal business hours in your time zone. Support for routine and short installation and usage questions. Obviously the response time, objective is under 2 hours. And again, you'll have the ability to open up tickets, and really a lot of the same stuff that you're doing. Again, with this though, there is an added cost, to your software and support license you're paying today. So there is an additional cost to this. So, that just to make that aware of you with that also. Right now, some of you might be questioning, what would it cost for you? I have an idea what it will cost most people, but it's really, that's a conversation we need to take offline to look at your environment, how many users you have, and so on. There's a couple of different factors that go into what the IBM is going to charge you for that. So again, that's something would be best discussed offline at a later date with each of you individually. Okay. With the support, the continuing support, okay, what it will not include, again, is the fixing of any new defects. So any new defects, or bug fixes, packages fixes, updates that they do to the software, are all going to be pushed on to Cognos Analytics. So if something does pop up and they do identify it as an issue, they won't be making changes in Cognos 10. Those changes would be made over in Cognos Analytics. Also for any support for any type of third-party components is no longer going to be supported. So if you're doing anything with maps or any of the other third-party products that folks do use in conjunction with Cognos, that is IBM has supported in the past, they will not be supporting that in the future. So again, there's obviously, the reason we've kind of rushed this webinar, I kind of pushed this thing together rather quickly, is again to give you guys enough heads up to start planning, the 6-7 months or whatever we have till April or next year. Hopefully you guys can get a plan in place and start thinking and moving off of your Cognos 10 environment into the latest version of Cognos Analytics. So again, you can kind of, this is an added expense that, if we kind of move this up the pecking order, we might be able to avoid some additional cost to your organizations. Okay. Again, some real basic with Cognos Analytics, just some basic installation prerequisites. They are a little bit higher than Cognos 10, and when we start getting into a little bit more deeply, you'll see why. As far as the RAM and the disk space, with your server environments, your browsers, again, they're all more up to date to the tools that people using today. Okay. The big thing that's going to be more of a conversation for most people than that has happened in the past is with memory. Okay, one component of Cognos Analytics, will be your end users having the ability to kind of create their own models, create their own data sets, and actually store this data in memory. You might have heard in the past, Cognos using JDBC drivers. You might have heard a query mode inside Cognos called dynamic query mode. Well, that is all kind of coming into play now for your end users, giving them the capability of, again, kind of doing their own little modeling outside of what's going on inside Framework Manager or Transformer. They will have the flexibility of doing their own modeling, creating their own data sets, their own data modules, and again, those are all going to be stored up in memory. So, when we start talking about sizing, we got to talk a little bit about, again, how many users are we looking into this? How much data, can we anticipate them uploading? Right now, there are settings for each user. They all have a set number of memory that they can allocate, and that can be adjusted by the administrator. But again, this is something that's going to come in a little bit more into focus when we start talking sizing. And again, the folks that we have, worked with have set up some some sandbox environments for folks that, this was more of a conversation than we've had in the past with memory for our Cognos 10 installations. Okay, and again, when you guys, when we've done the upgrades from Cognos 10, they've been pretty much seamless. They're very similar to what we've done in previous versions of, Cognos 10, Cognos 10.1 to 10.2 or 10.2 to 10.2.2 or whatnot. Very seamless, haven't had too many major issues. There's always that report here or there that we have to go back in and take a look at and tweak a little bit to make it work in the new environment. But for the most part, it's been a pretty much seamless upgrade, taking the folks that we have worked with and moving them into Cognos Analytics. One thing I do suggest, again, if you guys are going to work on this, is to use, you do have access to a tool called Lifecycle Manager. So what Lifecycle Manager, and there's another slide after this that we'll talk a little bit more detail, but it's a tool that will allow you guys from a single UI to run reports and validate reports in both environments and do a comparison between the two. So it's a really nice tool to do some real quick validation, and you'll have a bit of a document to say, listen, we've tested 200 reports, and 195 of them are fine. There's 3 of them we got to look at, so, or 5 of them, whatever the number might be. And again, as far as the moving your content store, again, using the same methods, either doing it inside your database server, working with your DBA to move it to a new database. And for most folks, they're kind of running things in parallel right now, using the Cognos Analytics as a kind of a test box, just testing it out, and then having their production Cognos 10 environments still running. So we're running side by side, creating new content stores. Again, my suggestion is, again, inside Cognos, you can use the deployment option to move the content store from one environment to the other. We really do that only when our customer is going to switch database vendors. So if you're moving from SQL Server to Oracle or DB2 or whatnot, we would do that method to move the content store. Okay. So again, with the Lifecycle Manager, so again, this is something that I use all the time when I do upgrades, ever since it's been released. And really what it does, it gives you a visualization of the results. So you can pull it up on the screen. You can, the folks you're working with who might be testing it or validating it, you can set it up. You can run reports that have prompts in it. You could fill the reports. You can generate the prompts right from Lifecycle Manager, select the various values in the prompts, and let the report run. It will also track the duration of the report. So if one report is running faster or slower in an environment, then again, that's something that can be flagged, and we can look at why maybe in the new environment it's taking a little bit longer, and then we can investigate further from there. But again, we'll have that in front of us. We'll have it on the screen. Again, we can go ahead and start investigating why this report is taking a little bit longer in the new environment versus the old environment. But again, this is all something that is part of your software agreement with IBM that you guys are allowed to download and use. We even have customers who use it between their various Cognos environments, whether it's prod or production or whatnot, just to do a validation, make sure everything's working okay, and it's just another way to validate that, once they moved it in from a test or QA to the production environments, everything is working as expected. Okay. Another thing, again, a, a big topic, again, especially with Cognos Analytics. So, once we pull it up here on the screen in a few moments, if you haven't seen it, it does look a lot differently. So, there has to be to make this successful, to make it a worthwhile upgrade. I think we really have to spend some time talking about training, talk about mentoring for our end users, because your end users might be used to going into Cognos Workspace Advanced or Query Studio and developing reports and pulling information out. That's all kind of changed a little bit. Query Studio is still there. How long it's going to be available, that is still up in the air. I think IBM would like to depreciate it sooner than later. So I think talk a little bit about training, mentoring. How do we, help the end users get the most out of the new Cognos Analytics tool? We have a series of training classes and mentoring programs set up that we're working with some of our customers. So again, to bring in the end users to, again, how do you show a report? How do you build a report? How do you find a product? How do you find a report? So again, there's some hand-holding that's going to have to be done, but I think, the folks who have done that, who have spent the time looking into that, have benefit from a greater user adoption. Again, with Cognos 10, we would train people in Cognos 10. They get a little antsy. They find it difficult to find their reports, or, again, there's so many icons. Some folks might get a little nervous. I think we do some hand-holding, we do some training. People can really benefit from this tool. So again, something to think about, and again, we can help you with that, or if you want to do it on your own, it's something I think if you want it to be successful, this is something you need to put a little time and thought into. Okay, just a real quick table, just the tools on the left that were inside Cognos 10: Report Studio, Workspace Advanced, Query Studio, Analysis Studio, and where they are today inside of Cognos Analytics. One thing you might notice down toward the bottom, PowerPlay Studio with R7 is now supported. So, if that's something you're using today, I know in the previous versions, Cognos Analytics was kind of a bit of a workaround to make it work. Now, it will actually install right on top of Cognos Analytics, and it will actually be part of the UI. So again, that's something else we can kind of talk about if necessary. As you can see, with Query Studio, with Analysis Studio, by default they're hidden. So we can hide them from the end users, or we can make them available for the end users. But again, if you're going through the process to move to the newer tool, spend some time talking about training, mentoring, how to get people to use the new authoring tool, which is going to open them up to a whole other world of possibilities with their data insight. Okay. And again, this is just kind of a suggested plan to moving to Cognos Analytics. And it's something I kind of follow when we go through this process. As far as creating test or development environments, creating production environment, and just follow through these steps. So, where everyone's on the same page during the upgrade process. We know where we're at. We know, there are no surprises, when we come to launch date that, oh yeah, we have, 75 reports that don't work. Well, okay, we should have known about that earlier. And if we follow these steps and communicate with each other, those usually are issues that don't pop up. There's not as many hurt feelings that way. So again, it's really just a step-by-step process to that everyone knows the steps that we're going through, that folks are validating the reports, they're signing off on them. And then once we're ready to go live, everyone's on the same page, and we can have a successful upgrade. Okay. So as far as the you know, the continuing support, again, that's kind of the big talk about, you know, what people are talking about right now. People are worried about it a little bit. Again, if you guys have any questions on additional questions, I'll have a link at the end of this also, takes you to that continuous support page, or, you know, offline you can reach out to me with your questions. If I don't have the answer, I have people at IBM who I can reach out to, and they'll get the answer for me. But again, you know, if possible, you know, start thinking about, okay, how do we get off Cognos 10 and get into Cognos Analytics? You know, I think with your end users, you know, will benefit greatly, you know, once they see this tool and what we can they can accomplish with that. That being said, so let's switch over to Cognos Analytics and look at some of the newer features, and also there's some older stuff in here. Again, there's some folks here on the call who haven't seen Cognos Analytics yet, so I apologize if you're familiar with this already. I just wanted to touch base on a couple topics with them. But if you've seen Cognos Analytics before, the first thing you notice is the welcome page has been redesigned, so it has a little bit new color scheme. Again, trying to get folks to log on to Cognos, to stay on Cognos, to develop their reports. One of the big things driving the IBM development team was, how do we make it easier for the end users to find the content they're looking for? So as you can see with the new redesigned welcome page, this first thing is these little recent tiles. So what this will do right here, it will show them the last items that they've opened, whether it's a report or a package or a dashboard. It's going to be right here on the screen for them. So again, there's no searching, there's no open and closing folders. They can come in here and quickly look at the reports that they're always looking at, so they can quickly pull that information up and make whatever decisions need to be made. Over on the right, what is pretty cool, again, for our end users getting started with this, there's some quick reference links. These will take you out to the IBM YouTube channel. So there's a host of videos out there on, you know, how to build a dashboard, how to upload a file, how to create a storyboard. You know, there's even some sample data if they just want to play. They don't want to use your new data. There's a support link that'll take you to like the IBM communities. So again, if they want to kind of research on their own, how do you do this? How do you do that? That's all readily available right then and there for them. So again, just another way to make it a little bit easier for our end users to find the content that they're looking for. Okay. One big thing that always was a bit of a bone of contention for myself, and if you play with Cognos Analytics before, they would always open up another pane. So if you went too far deep, if you're in the folders, if you're in public folders, you went to the sales folder, the regional sales, you know, it would basically take up the entire screen. Now they've kind of eliminated that, and it'll all stay in one pane, and then you can quickly just navigate with the breadcrumbs right up here to navigate up and down the folder. So again, the whole screen is not being taken out. People were getting lost, you know, where am I? How do I get back? It's a little bit confusing. So they've kind of redesigned this, which I think is quite helpful. The search, again, is another huge upgrade from Cognos 10. As soon as something is created, again, whether it's a dashboard or a data module or a report, as soon as it's saved, you can go search for it. And it'll search just not only the report title names, but it'll look for content, column names, field names, anything that has to do with that. So again, helping the end users find their items, find their content as quick as possible. This search option is a big winner as far as I'm concerned. And again, for the end users who have always been a little cautious of using Cognos. They're not very technically savvy. You know, they get lost hunting and they get frustrated hunting and pecking through folders and trying to find stuff. You know, this is a huge time saver for folks. Okay. What you'll also notice is public folders and my folders are now been renamed to my content and team content. Okay, so not a big thing, but again, just something you're going to have to make aware to your end users who are used to, you know, storing things in their my folders. They're going to have to just get used to that my content option. Again, when we do the upgrade, you know, everyone's data is going to come over. So if they store a bunch of things in their my content, the first time they log into Cognos Analytics, it's actually going to be there for them. Okay. Another winner as far as I'm concerned, you know, again, if you have a folder in Cognos 10 that has 75 objects in it, okay, and you want to edit or you would like to run or schedule a specific report, you know, some of us who are getting up there in age, sometimes it's a little difficult because we basically had to look at, on the left-hand side of the screen, we had to go find the right icon on the right-hand side of the screen and make sure we click the right one. You know, now what they've done is they've done away with that. There's a little ellipsis just at the end of whatever object, whether it's a report or a dashboard. And once you click on that, again, all those options in the properties that we're used to, whether we're going to edit the report or we're going to do a run as, or we want to embed it, or we want to change the security settings, it's all in the ellipsis. There's no more, am I on the right icon for the right report? You know, many times I've sat there with folks and they're trying to make a change to this global sales report, but when they click on the Query Studio icon or the Report Studio icon, they pick on the wrong one and they open up the wrong port. You know, just again, just trying to line that up. Again, makes it much easier for our end users to, you know, gain access to this. So again, another big thing that I think is a winning upgrade for folks. Recent views. Okay, so again, helping the end users find the content they're using all the time. So if they're in there using the same 10, 12, 15 reports or dashboards, they will always be listed in this recent view. So they can quickly come in here, scroll down, say, oh, I want to look at the customer claim analysis or the country comparison or the global sales, whatever I'm looking for, I can quickly find it there. No more hunting and pecking through folders or creating shortcuts. You know, it's right there for our end users. Okay. And again, with the new development, so again, you'll see over there the little new icon. You can click on that, and then from there you can upload files. Query Studio, the older legacy tools, are under the other icon right there. Again, as I mentioned, that could be left there, or we can hide it if you want to, you know, kind of tear the Band-Aid off and, you know, have people jump right into the new tools. You know, whether we're going to create a data module, a story, a dashboard, or report, those are all under the new icons for us. Okay. So again, with the upload files, so there's a new, on the home page, there is a box right here that we can quickly drag and drop our files, whether it's, you know, CSV or Excel spreadsheets or whatnot, onto the box right here, or you could browse right from here that you can quickly upload your content and start using it. So again, helpful for the end users, just another way that they can stay inside the Cognos environment. They don't have to do all this stuff in Excel. They can upload files. They can upload multiple Excel spreadsheets. They can actually, with the web modeling, they can actually do joins. They can create reports often now. So if they want to schedule and email it, you know, all the capabilities that they'll have with that. You know, again, a lot of this has to be with, you know, most of our end users, you know, they're getting data from a lot of different spots, and the time it takes to, you know, update a framework manager package or a transformer cube is not going to work for them anymore. You know, that couple day lag or a week lag, whatever it might be. They need to get moving on this. So that's why with Cognos Analytics, they're going to have some of that flexibility that they have a report or they have a package and they have a couple spreadsheets they'd like to augment to that. They will have the capability of doing that on their own. Okay. Another cool feature, again, to help our end users get the information as quick as possible is My Subscriptions. So what My Subscriptions is if your end users have a report that they're constantly going in and looking at, now they can set a subscription, and every time the report's been refreshed, they will be notified that there is a new version of that report out there. So again, it makes it easier for the end users to consume these reports. Again, they're not opening and closing folders or creating shortcuts. They'll quickly be notified that a new version of that report is available. Okay, and they'll see that in the notifications icon. So they'll see, you got 1, you got 2, you got 10 reports that have been updated, and they can quickly click on that icon, and they can see all the reports that are now have been updated, and they can actually view and take a look at those reports. So again, we're not emailing them these reports. We're not cluttering their inboxes. Your email administrators will be happy with this because there's not a bunch of large PDF or Excel spreadsheets clogging up the email servers. Now people can log on to Cognos, they can get that information that they're looking for. And it's also a way to say, you know what, I don't need that report today. We could just turn off that notification, or yeah, I need that today, versus constantly being sent in their email, and now they have to spend some time cleaning up their inbox. Okay. For the admin side of things, one thing with Cognos Analytics that is much easier, and I have a lot of customers who would have liked to get into some branding, kind of customizing the GUI of Cognos, but the skill set wasn't there. So now the ability to kind of tweak Cognos to kind of brand it, to follow the color schemes and the logos that your organization has done. They've done actually a great job as far as updating this and making it much easier to actually change the layout, change the branding of the Cognos UI. And I'll show you that real quick. We're not going to go into too much detail, but it's really, in the past, there's been a series of HTML and text documents that you would have to go change. You have to stop and restart Cognos, so it's a whole planning thing to get into that. Now we can actually upload it and change it on the fly, and all you really need to do is refresh your browser, and you'll see the changes in there. So you don't have to be a web developer, or you don't have to be a JavaScript or expert to do all this. There's actually just a single document we're actually going to change now. It's much easier, so I'm actually pretty psyched about that. And again, these are the areas right now, at least. As it comes out, there's going to be more options for this. So again, we could change the name from Cognos Analytics to whatever you guys want. You could change the logo, the app bar color scheme. You could play with the icons. The brand icon you can change. The brand text you can change. You can change it from welcome to IBM Cognos Analytics to welcome to New England System Analytics, or whatever it might be. The nav bar on the left, you could change those icons and color schemes also, and it's actually a much easier process. Okay. I also mentioned web modeling. So again, this is an area with your end users. Again, you have to spend a little bit of time with just making sure they understand, how to do joins, whether it's one-to-many or one-to-ones or whatever the join might be. Make sure they have an understanding of that. So again, they could take Excel spreadsheets, join them together, an Excel spreadsheet in a package or a report, and join it to that. So again, it gives them some flexibility to do things a little bit outside the box, maybe that aren't organizational wide goals. Maybe it's more of a department or a personal thing that they can do that maybe might not make it in a framework manager package, but they could do it on their own and actually develop some reports that they're looking for. Okay, and again, just some of the features. This is really the last couple versions of Cognos Analytics. The real big thing is at the top there with data sets. So what data sets are is you can actually take the data that you combine together, whether it's a spreadsheet or a report that someone's used, and you can actually store that in memory. So what folks are doing is with the storyboards, they're not using live data. They got a data set, so the response is going to be a little bit quicker that way. So they can actually do a presentation with live data, get the response that they're looking for. The questions come up right there on the screen. They can actually make changes to the presentation to show, what if we increase it by 2% or 5% or decreased it by 5%? What would the changes be? They could actually kind of do that on the fly. Okay. Again, just a real quick slide on creating data sets. Okay. Dashboards. So if you're in the past, if you use Cognos Workspace, the dashboard feature now is the dashboard environment that they're looking for you guys to use. There are some really cool things that they've added in here as far as a filter dock. So you can actually put one filter on your dashboard, and it'll go ahead and filter out all the content of the dashboard for you. You could do now conditional based filters. You could do top or bottom filters. You can add advanced calculations. There's a expression editor that you can use. So if you need to do case statements, if then else statements, you can type those in now and develop whatever type of calculations you need to do. They've also added new visualization types, getting into some networks and some bubble charts, and there's better label placements. So again, they've come a long way with this inside the dashboard. The storyboard, basically the storyboard is essentially PowerPoint with live data. So you can actually be connected to your organizational data, whether it's a data warehouse or your database environments, connect to them and basically tell a story of your data. So if you're giving a presentation, you're using live data. So again, people can make conclusions. They can make decisions, based on real-time data. So again, it's kind of a excuse me, kind of a cool feature. A couple new things in R7 is an animated path. So again, it allows you to keep things on screen while folks are focusing in other areas. Also, it's easier to upload images if you want to put flags or logos on there. They've made it much easier to do that also. Okay. With reporting, okay, one big improvement over Cognos 10 is with maps. Now, when the IBM has made an agreement with Mapbox, so all the maps, so you get into some pretty cool mapping options. You don't have to go ahead and purchase any maps from any third-party companies. All the maps are going to be included from Mapbox. It's no additional cost to you guys. So Mapbox, as things are progressing here, are going to be adding more and more features to the mapping. In previous versions, we were kind of limited to using the dashboards for maps. That is no longer the case. As of R7, you can actually use a standard report, and I'm going to show you that real quick. We could do that. You can also get into creating hierarchies, again, for your data modules to use in a report. So kind of similar to creating drill down, up and down paths for your end users. Okay, one of the really cool things, and something that people have always asked me, how do we do this? I didn't really have an answer for them. Is they've created a my parameter option. So what that does, if you create a filter for one report, okay, you can add that to your my parameter. So if you go ahead and create a brand new report, you can actually now use that filter in this new report. So, again, if you have something a little bit complex that you use, and it doesn't really work inside a package, it's more at report level type of stuff, you can actually use this my parameter and you can bring it over from one report to the other. So that, again, that's kind of, I think, is going to be a time saver for our report developers. Okay. Another cool thing, some people are pretty excited about this, but now you can put text items in a crosstab, the measures, so you create more of a matrix than a crosstab. I know this is always something people have been asking for. So now we finally have the capability of doing that. That you can put that out there. Okay, so you can add text measures into crosstabs. Again, for the more the administrator side, if you are having an issue with your Cognos services, one thing IBM would always do is, again, if it's getting kind of serious, they might ask you to increase the logging levels so we can find out, what the issue is. Again, that involved, editing text files, stopping Cognos, restarting the Cognos services. So now we can do that on the fly. So there's a place where the administrator can quickly go in and turn on the diagnostic logging. They'll have a couple different topics that they can select as, how deep do they want to go with the logging. And then once the problem has been identified or resolved, you can quickly turn it back off. So again, it's much easier than, again, have to edit text files, then go back in and edit out all the changes and then restart Cognos. You can actually do it on the fly now, which is kind of handy. Okay. And again, just some useful links. And again, I'm going to send this deck out to everyone after the call is done. So again, if you hadn't seen the end of support, there's a link in there. They'll take you to the IBM page. That'll offer you a little bit more detail on that. There's a link in there to the free trial. So if you just want to play around with it, get a sense of the new environment without installing anything, and maybe you have some Excel spreadsheets you want to upload or whatnot, you could do that in that citrial.mybluemix.net. You could quickly upload it there. So again, I'll send this out so you guys can have those links for you real quick. Okay. So real quick, before we run out of time here, I just want to show again the folks who haven't seen this, or some folks who want to look at some of the newer features of it. So again, you see your recent tiles here. So again, these are the last objects that I've looked at that I can quickly get into. If I want to do a search, oops, I gotta log on. All right. So if I'm looking for sales information, I can quickly type in the word, and it's going to return, anything to do with sales. And then right from here, again, I could just click on the ellipsis that we talked about. I can run the report, or if I needed to make a change to that report, I could do it right then and there. Okay. With the recent tabs, so again, showed me the last, I think it's 25 objects that I've looked at will be in here. So again, allows your end users the flexibility of, not have to hunting, pecking for all that. Again, a couple other things that I think are really cool. So again, if I'm looking at this report, I like this report. I would like to look at it more often. What I could do is I can set a subscription for this. Let's try that again. Oh, I know. Again, right here, you'll see my little show filters here. So again, this is where my parameters would pop up. Okay, so here's my subscription right here. So I like this report. I always want to see when it's been updated. I can subscribe to this. So now I can set how often and what time of day and what format I would like to see this report as. So if I set it for 9 o'clock, Monday through Friday, I will get a notification that this report has been updated. Okay, and you'll see that right here. So a little bell or a little notification. I've got one report in here that's been updated. So from right here, I can actually run the report. So again, I don't have to go look for it. I don't have to do a search or go into my recent views. I could just click on my notification icon right here. Okay. So again, a couple things here as far as, again, for your end users, making it easier for them to look at the data, find the data they're looking for. Again, the quick reference tabs right here, getting started. Again, clicking on these links will take you right to the YouTube channel for IBM. There's 10, 15, 20 different videos out there, different topics that your end users can look at. If you want to go into the community or the IBM knowledge base, again, a quick link to take your end users there. So no more hunting and pecking through Google trying to find the answer or how do I do something. So again, with the new option right here, so again, with the reports, the dashboards, the storyboards, data modules, again, if you're looking for the older legacy tools, there's Query Studio, Workspace, Event Studio. Again, all are still there. Not sure yet as far as the timeline goes, but that's they're still there if your end users really need to have access to that. Something like Event Studio, I use it a lot, so I could see that sticking around. They're not going to there's no plans to make any huge changes to it, but the other studios and Workspace, I know it rather shortly. Those are going to be going away. So again, when you want to think about this, start moving, start planning for it, one line item I would put in there is, again, showing your end users, again, we can help you with that, or you can come up with your own, how do we navigate around there? How do I find a report? How do I run a report? How do I create a report? How do I come in here to the report module? There's some templates in here I can check through. Again, they have some templates again that can be selected. So if I'm looking for a new visualization, if I wanted a map, I can quickly add a map in here. And again, now I can go ahead and find a package or whatnot, or a data module to use to kind of do all that. So again, some new features in there that are kind of helpful. But again, that's the type of stuff that, again, this is Report Studio. For those who've used Report Studio in the past, this looks nothing like what we're used to seeing. But, if you want to look at the queries, here are the queries right here. If you want to look at the prompt pages, they're right here. You want to go into the toolbox, again, here's all our toolbox options that we're looking for. Again, your end users might need a little bit of guidance, how do we find all this, okay? So if you want to look at your data items, those are right here. So again, all those things, again, people have to just be kind of told where that stuff is. If you want to do a complete validation of the report, we'll do it right there. So again, might take a little bit, you might want to add a line item to your upgrade plan as far as, help them, again, obviously with the new interface, with the search and the subscriptions, the data uploads, again, all stuff that folks will need to be made aware of, but also the authoring tool that, again, people might have looked at reports to you and said, I can't handle this. Well, you know what? Now the folks I've shown that for, they've always used Query Studio because it's easy. Well, this is just as easy, but if you need to go into the queries, or you need to do a join, or do a case statement, which you can't do in Query Studio, or an if then else statement, you have the flexibility for that. Okay. All righty, so we're coming about toward the end of our time here. Let's see. So we got a couple questions here. I'll go through those real quickly. So if I can get through all these, then we'll be in good shape. So again, as far as what you've done in Cognos 10, all your modeling tools, Transformer, Framework Manager, is all still readily available. There have not been any huge changes to either one of those tools, at least for right now. So they still work. They're still supported. So we had, again, I had some conversations the last couple of weeks with some folks regarding Transformer. They downloaded Cognos Analytics. It's still branded 10.2.2. You know, I've reached out to my contacts at IBM. They assured me that it will be rebranded at some point to a Cognos Analytics, but it will still be sorted after the you know, April 2018. It's not going anywhere. There's too many people who use it, so don't worry about that. Framework Manager, same thing. It's not going anywhere, even though there's an additional area that people can do web modeling, do their own modeling. It's not as robust as Framework Manager. So for your organizational enterprise type reports, you're still going to use Framework Manager to do that type of modeling. Okay. Question regarding TM1. TM1 is still its own installation. I know there's some more discussion happening with that, and I'll reach out to my contact about that also, and I'll get back to Andy. Asked that question, so we'll talk about that. As far as Cognos Analytics 11.0.6, yep, that was the release in the springtime. So we're basically, what you should see. If you don't see it, then we could look into it for you. As far as the it should be 11.0.7. So again, Andy, that's a question you had for us. So it's really not the same. 0.06, 0.0.6 is an older version of Cognos. And yeah, so all the authoring that we've done, you know, whether it's Query Studio, Analysis Studio, Cognos Workspace Advanced, Report Studio, have all been merged into a single tool. So if you have cubes, you can use the reporting module to do your analysis versus a Analysis Studio. So yeah, what they've done is they've taken basically all the functionality of all those tools and actually merged it into a single tool. So again, for your benefits, you know, we don't have to have multiple training classes. Okay, this group is going to look at Report Studio. This group is going to look at Query Studio. We can actually have everyone into a single class and teach them the new reporting tool. Question on upgrading. Ning, I'll get back to you on that question. So we'll talk about that offline, just to make sure. I don't want to make an assumption what you're asking here, so I'll make a note to what you're asking there. Yeah, so with Transformer, compatibility mode is still there inside of Cognos Analytics. So again, that hasn't gone away. So for the Transformer cubes, or even any of your older legacy Framework Manager packages that you built, you know, I built packages for people 9-10 years ago that are still in play today. So nothing has changed there, so you really shouldn't have an issue whether it's 32-bit or the 64-bit dynamic query mode. Again, Cognos Analytics, again, when you're installing it, if you're in an enterprise environment, you could break it up over a number of different services, like you did with the dispatchers. They can be installed in the Content Manager all on different servers. So, so really shouldn't have too big of an issue with that. Alrighty, so I've done enough talking for one day. I'd like to thank each one of you for joining us. And what I'll be doing, again, I'll send out the link. I'm going to put the video up on our YouTube channel, so if you want to share it with other folks who weren't able to attend the meeting today, they can view it at their leisure. And then otherwise, if you're in New England, enjoy the rainy day. If you're somewhere else, I hope it's a little bit nicer for you. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.